Good morning. Welcome to Pecos on the Move for July 6, 2026. And we have standing by Mr. Jimmy Dutchover. He is the Executive Director of the Pecos Economic Development Corporation. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, Bill. Thank you for having me.
You bet. And hope you had a great 4th of July holiday.
It was, I needed the holiday, but I think I enjoyed the celebration more than anything else.
All right. Of course, it was a big milestone for our country, celebrating 250 years this year.
Who would have thought, right?
Who would have thought? How about that? Jimmy, we're going to be talking about data centers today, and over the last 20 years or so, data center hyperscalers such as Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, Google, Meta, and Oracle have made significant mechanical and infrastructure improvements that have made modern facilities much more accessible to state and local communities than early generation data centers. And I know you wanted to talk about our data centers this morning and some of the biggest improvements that have been made there.
You know, Bill, the technology is not what it was in 1980, 1990, 2000. You know, we're not driving the same 40-year-old vehicle that we had back in those days. The technology has improved quite a bit. To take into consideration, one of the most key components that you have to have is the power system. And what drives a data center to be more efficient than it ever was before? You know, think of your phones. The smartphone of an iPhone or a Samsung. What we're now on 17 for the iPhones and 26 for the Samsung, the Androids. So just think of it in that same capacity. Generation after generation, they continue to improve, and that's what we're partnering up with the groups that have the latest and greatest technology. Some of them are the reciprocating engines. You know, the same thing. Who would have thought that we would have had catalytic converters years and years ago when we were both in our youth? The things change. So they're either reciprocating engines or diesel engine driven. They have mufflers inside of the warehouses to reduce the number or the amount of noise that is emitted. You know, they're held to certain standards, the decibels that the noise level can come out. And that's not always the case in the older facilities because remember, they're grandfathered in. So we're trying to make the latest and greatest our partners. 20 years ago, generators often tested with higher noise levels than they do today.
All right. And you know, when we talk data centers, you know, we hear a lot about them today on the national news and the state news, but they've been around for a long time.
They have. Banks have data centers. Even our school district has a data center inside of the technology building so that they can operate all of the information. Now just think of it as a exponentially grown facility. You know, yes, banks have them, the government has them, medical services have them, retail stores have them, banks have them, you know, credit card companies, they all have them. So we're trying to also keep in mind that it's just not the known hyperscalers. It's sometimes the pharmaceuticals. It's, you know, just down to the everyday businesses that operate.
Among the biggest improvements include also lower air emissions. Jimmy, talk about that.
Okay. Well, you know, natural gas engines, which we are the largest producers, and I'm talking about Reeves County, we are the largest producers of natural gas inside the state of Texas. And so the advances that have been made in technology have reduced the consumption controls, the catalytic reduction systems. Many facilities meet or exceed the stringent levels that are not only placed at the federal level, but they're placed at the state level, and in most cases the local levels. So we have done a great job. The board of directors of the Economic Development Corporation, the management team, and of course the taxing entities to make sure we have partners that are wanting to do the right thing. You know, some of the operators, they purchase renewable natural gas or carbon offsets to reduce the life cycle. Because we produce so much natural gas, we have to flare it off, Bill. And what we don't want to do is take a trash and just let it keep on going. Let it be our treasure. You know, we're blessed because so many communities would love to have the opportunities that we have here in Reeves County and the town of Pecos City and the surrounding areas. But we also know that our neighbors to the south and the neighbors to the east, they can duplicate this if they know how. We've just had a jump in the start for the last 3 years. It was an initiative that we started with the Economic Development Corporation directors. We sold it to the management of the town of Pecos City and to the commissioner's court and said, look, let's not turn a blind eye to this. Let's be receptive. Let's do our studies. Let's do our homework so that when people come out and attack our decisions or question our decisions, because it's everybody's right to question, we want to give them the best information we possibly can give them.
So that's really how the vision started then, right?
It started 3 years ago. Actually, July 1st was my first day as the full-time executive director. Ken had left the last day of June, and with it, I just started looking at all the types of industry that we could diversify into. Natural gas was obviously at the top of the list, and with it came, how do we make the energy or the flaring that was going on, how do we make it our treasure? And that's how it started.
Well, that's great. Now, again, looking at the biggest improvements as far as data centers are concerned, improved cooling efficiency. I know you wanted to address that.
You know, Bill, I got to refer to my notes every once in a while, but the direct air cooling is one of the biggest things. The indirect evaporative cooling, the liquid cooling, and that's where we're at right now, and the rear door heating exchanges. I equate the energy and the heat that is generated and the water use to a current turbo engine that we have on so many of our vehicles. It's cooled with antifreeze. Glycols is what it's done, or what's it referred to. And all that you're doing is changing out the filters. The glycol can continue to be reused and reused and reused, just like even a closed loop water system. You put the necessary fluids inside a radiator and you just keep on cooling it and cooling it until one day you have to flush it. That's normal. Then you take it out and you refill it. But to think that we're going to use our natural drinking water, that's totally wrong. Governor Abbott and his team have been adamant that if it's going to be water, it needs to be produced water. If it's going to be a closed loop system, then it needs to be a glycol system. And that's the big difference of what goes on in the Northeast, in the Virginias, in the other states that did not have the forethought to really plan as to how to get the best bang for the buck.
So these systems reduce both electricity and water consumption then, right?
Yes, sir. Especially the water. You know, we realize that we're in a desert area, but we also realize that the farming industry used to use so much more water than it would take to drill a well out here for oil and gas. But we also realize that as we're taking out that produced water, we got to do something with it. So how do we clean it up? Can it be used for this technology? Yes. Are we asking the groups that are coming in to have a better technology than using produced water? Yes. And that's where the glycols, the antifreeze, come into effect.
And so the modern hyperscale campuses, like we're looking at south of Pecos here, increasingly using closed loop cooling, the recycled wastewater, and that sort of thing, right?
Yes, sir. That's like the radiator system that I alluded to a few minutes ago. It's not that we don't want to use the old system. It's why do you want to burden the community and our local residents with an old system when you can sit down and get the developers to come in with the newest and the latest and greatest.
All right. Let's talk about greater energy efficiency.
All right. Well, let me explain to you how I explain it to my board of directors. You know, severe utilization has improved dramatically through AI-driven workloads. This is no different. The AI system is no different than what happened when we had COVID. We used to have 90 wells in Reeves County. That was what was being driven at any given time. Today we're in the 30s. And the reason for that, Bill, is that horizontal drilling, that technology has come a whole 180 degrees from the way that we used to look at the system. That's the same thing that happens with our data systems. The modern facilities, they often overachieve power usage. So they create more energy than they need, and thus we get to put it back on the grid. So that the individuals that are the bigger users of electricity, which is I-35, where the biggest population is, and to the east, they get to use whatever is left over from this data centers. But also is that the governor has been insistent that every one of these data centers once they meet a certain threshold, have their own backup system. They are not to be pulling electricity from our grid. So that you, Paula, myself, and my wife, Ronnie, we're not going to have to, raise up our thermostat when it's 105 degrees and then we have to raise it up to 78 and have a warm place that we're living in. No, we get to keep it at 72, 73 degrees during the summer months, and hopefully we're smart enough to lower it to 68 during the winter months. But it's all about where the population is. The more people we're able to help outside of Reeves County is a blessing. That should tell the community, that should tell the state of Texas, that should tell our nation that although we have the resources, we're not abusing what we have out here. We are trying to be good stewards of our natural resources. And at the same time, Bill, I want the listening audience to understand my thought about this. We are in it for not only ourselves today, but our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. You and I are never going to be able to go to those brand new schools that are being erected right now. But think about the vision that we had. It was one of a great thought process. It was one of realizing, do we want to continue to send our money back to Austin, or do we want to sit down and take care of our residents right here in Pecos, Texas? But the least wasted means that overall environmental impact. We want to be able to be good stewards of our natural resources. That's what it comes down to.
So this system, this campus that we're looking at south of town, and others that are looking at coming here, again, they're looking at producing their own electricity.
That is right.
Off grid.
That is exactly what we tell them. It's called behind the meter, which means that it never affects that meter. That when you go outside and you look at your house, and during that hot sun and the air conditioner is going, that meter's going round and round in cycles. Well, it's not going to affect those meters that you and I have. It's going to affect the meters of their property and them taking care of their hyperscaler partners. So that's why you have the Chevron working with the Microsoft. Chevron creates the electricity. Microsoft uses that electricity, but doesn't take away from the population of Reeves County and the town of Pecos City.
And Jimmy, besides the one that we've been hearing a lot about that, of course, came out in the news the other day, there are others that are actively looking at Reeves County right now.
Well, think about it. It almost seemed like yesterday, but it was 2 weeks ago today that we were eagerly waiting for that confirmation from Chevron. The elected officials from the county, they knew who it was going to be. We were under the NDAs, and we still are under the NDAs. And as they make their announcements, it's great news. But to your point, there are a lot of groups that are looking at Reeves County. And the elected officials, they are being great stewards of what is going on, whether it's the county level, whether it's the city council, the hospital district, the water districts, the school district, ESD 1 and 2. They are really, really being great partners with the Economic Development Corporation. Now, for most part, Bill, ours is the advisory role. Myself, Lila, Heather, we just advise as to what we see and the contacts that we've made. But that information, we give it to the taxing entities. It's their responsibility to make the best decisions they can for the citizens of Pecos and for the economy of our community.
All right, very good. Well, we're going to continue talking about data centers, and we'll be on this topic again next Monday morning when we meet on this program. Jimmy, you've got a busy week this week. I understand that you are going to be attending some meetings and looking at some potential retail prospects for our community. Is that right?
That is correct. I'm headed out of town today, as a matter of fact, to head out to San Antonio and then out to Austin, and from there to the McKinney area, so we can start to look at the retail, the anchor stores that we're looking for Lincoln East and the 12 acres, plus some other developmental areas that are going to hopefully take care of the needs and the wishes of our community. And whether they're eateries or anchor stores, it's a little bit of both. Bill.
All right, very good. And speaking of Lincoln East and Lincoln West, we're seeing a lot of work going on there right now. And of course, I know they've been putting some new infrastructure in that area. And of course, part of that street has been closed now for a little while as this work is going on. But progress is being made, and we should be seeing Lincoln Street complete one of these days.
Well, Lincoln West is the first one to be completed. It has a tentative date of mid-September to be completed, and there's just a lot more work on Lincoln East to do. But the county commissioners and the judge are working diligently with the developers of the roping arenas, and that's going to be the anchor that's going to help us with the Buck Jackson Arena and all the other projects we're trying to improve for Pecos, its residents, just to improve the quality of life that we have out here in our community.
And that Lincoln Street area is now known as the Rodeo District, I believe. Right?
That's what we tentatively named it. I don't know what the judge and the commissioners are going to refer to it as, but they do want that Western theme to it if that's the route that they decide to take finally.
Jimmy, anything in closing this morning?
You know, Bill, I just want to tell you that we've gotten so many calls. People are really enthused about the information that we're giving them right here on Pecos on the Move.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the interns that came up with that, Kaylin Salcido and Alex and Lila and Heather. They just said, you know, this is describing what we're trying to explain to the people. And we want to be as transparent as we can. It's just that sometimes we can't. And please don't hold that against me. Don't hold it against my staff, the city or the county elected officials. We don't create the NDAs. We just are bound by them.
And of course, Lila and Kaylin are both behind the scenes here recording this program, and you all are posting that on your website. Is that right?
That is correct. They've done a great job of revamping our entire website. It's taken almost a year to get done, but I couldn't have done it without the staff. People think it's Jimmy. It's not. I mean, Jimmy might come up with the ideas. Jimmy might be able to sell it to the board. The board comes in and modifies it. But as far as the day-to-day operations, I leave it to Lila, Heather, and the interns. They do what they got to do, and they do a great job, Bill.
All right, and of course your office is located at 119 South Cedar. That is right on the corner of 2nd and Cedar. And your office hours are what, 9 to 5?
8 to 5.
8 to 5, okay.
Typically we're there beyond that time, or we're there on Saturdays and Sundays. You know, with a boom, you just do not want to turn away a call.
Right.
But I will tell you this also, Bill. Sooner than later, the Reeves County Water Conservation District is going to be relocating to the old SLAC building. We're growing, they're growing, and we need to take care of our clients in the most confidential way that we can.
All right. And of course, the public is always welcome to come by and visit anytime, right?
Yes, sir. That is right.
Thank you. Well, you have a great week. I know you got a busy week ahead. Thank you, Jimmy, for sharing.
All right. Appreciate you very much, Bill.
Jimmy Dutchover, Executive Director of the Pecos Economic Development Corporation, our special guest on Pecos on the Move. You can hear this program live 8:05 a.m. on Monday mornings right here on KIUN 1400 a.m. And we appreciate the Pecos Economic Development Corporation making this time available each week. Y'all have a great week out there.